What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another Tottenham update for you guys. Before we get into it, there was actually Peter O'Rourke says that Tottenham have set aside a significant funds to land a prolific new striker before the sale of Harry Kane earlier this month. So having said that, let's get into these updates, starting off with Brennan Johnson. Ali Gold says that Tottenham are expected to make a move for Brennan Johnson before the window closes. The Nottingham Forest forward is a long-time target for Fabio Paratici and Leonardo Gabbiadini. Forest are believed to be looking between 40 to 50 million pounds for the winger, striker, whichever way you want to look at it. Look, we've covered this pretty much for the last few weeks now, and we know that the asking price is around the 50 million pound mark. Do you think Spurs pushed a button at that price?
I don't think so. I think they want probably money and a player to kind of get the deal done. I think in terms of like the budget they've got, I don't think they've got a budget of 50 million to bring in someone like Brennan Johnson. In my opinion, I reckon they want to bring it. I reckon they probably think he's worth less than that, and they probably want to. The outlay they want to give out is probably less than the 50 million. But maybe, you know, if Spence could go back to Forest, maybe there's a deal to be done. You take 10 million off the price tag, and maybe that's something Forest would be more willing to deal with. In my opinion, when it comes to Brennan Johnson, I like him as a player. I think he could do well for Ange Postecoglou. I don't see him as a perfect fit, but I see him as someone who you can work with, and he's a young player. You can probably coach him to do better at the things that Ange wants. I do think at that price, there are better players out there who can play on the wing, in my opinion, that are probably more suited than Brennan Johnson. But I'm not going to complain if we do sign a young player who's got high potential and has done pretty well in the Premier League in his time here so far. Do
you think Spurs are looking at it as an either-or between a winger and a striker, or do you think we're looking to bring in both?
I think in a perfect world both, but I think realistically, considering Perisic is still around, obviously we just signed Solomon, Gil's injured. I reckon we're probably just looking at a striker who can probably play on the wing as well. That's what I reckon we're looking at. But I think in an ideal world, you probably want to sign a player who's natural on the right and also a natural striker as well. But where we can get all this business done with players needing to leave, I reckon they're probably looking for a compromise.
Yeah, I mean, with a player like Brennan Johnson, you've got someone that can score goals in the Premier League. We saw that last year after his really stunning season in the Championship the year before. He's a player that can play backup or competition to Kulusevski, competition to Richarlison up top as well. But actually, if we do sign him, I actually envisage him playing more through the centre than I do out wide, to be honest. And I think like he's a player that can pick up those spaces in the 6-yard box in and around the penalty area and make a nuisance of himself. And I actually kind of envisage him getting more goals than Richarlison from that number 9 slot.
I was going to ask that. You reckon he could be more prolific than Richarlison?
Yeah, I think he can.
I think they're going to have the same problems in terms of I don't think Brennan Johnson's very good with his back to goal and build up play and trying to bring other players into play. When it comes to like giving centre backs like a real tough ride, like physically, I think Richarlison's probably better at that. What Brennan Johnson, I reckon, is probably better in is like running in behind and being more of a threat with his speed than Richarlison is at the moment. But I think in the box, I still think Richarlison's a better striker.
I think obviously different games bring different kind of questions, right? And I feel like maybe against the teams that are playing a low block that you need to be really physical up against their centre-backs, maybe Richarlison will be more suited to that. But maybe teams that play a higher line, like when you go and play your Arsenals and when you play your Man Cities and play teams like that, there'll be a lot more space for Brennan Johnson to work in. And I think he could be actually more suitable to those kind of games.
Yeah.
Next up, let's talk about Gift Orban. Fabrizio Romano says that Gift remains an opportunity. He is one of the names they are considering, and and Spurs know the conditions of the deal, but have not sent an official bid at the moment. HLN Sport say that Fulham have joined Tottenham, as well as a host of clubs that are interested in Gift Orban. The Belgian club are standing firm in their €30 million plus valuation of the Nigerian goalscorer, which is the sticking point. I mean, that really shouldn't be a sticking point for Spurs. If it's that kind of money and you really believe in him, then you just go get it done.
Yeah, I think at that price, yes, it's a risk because he's come from the Belgian league, but as you say, if you've done the scouting, if you looked into him and you know you've sent the scouts out, they think this guy has got high potential and it'll be worth taking a punt on. 30 million in a year's time will look like an absolute bargain if it works out. Yes, if it doesn't work out, then that's quite decent bit of money that you've maybe wasted. But at 30 million, like, we've wasted a lot more on other strikers who have been a lot worse. And I think in this current market, I don't think you can turn your noses at that kind of deal. So in my opinion, if he's there to be taken right now, it's the competition's only going to increase as things are. We're hearing more clubs getting involved as well, and that's only going to get again to up the price to create a bit of a bidding war. So I think Tottenham, if they really wanted him, should have had this wrapped up by now and just like got out of the way instead of all this posturing, and especially at that price. Like, what are you going to get? Maybe 5 million off. You know what I mean? You're not going to get him for 20 million, are you? If they're saying 30 million, and other clubs interested, they're not going to like significantly reduce the price to allow you to get him. So
especially if there's going to be a bidding war as well.
Exactly. So you might as well just pay 30 million. Honestly, there's really not that big of an outlay for what could potentially be a long-term replacement for Kane.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. Another striker we're going to talk about is Jonathan David of Lille. Fabrizio Romano says that another player that Tottenham really appreciate is Jonathan David from Lille. However, at the moment, David is considered too expensive, as Lille will demand around 60 million euros. And I've been thinking about Jonathan David actually, and I think like when we had Conte here and we were talking about bringing in strikers, I wasn't really up for bringing in Jonathan David because I didn't think he had the required skill set to play that kind of role, like the Harry Kane role at Tottenham. But now we have Ange Postecoglou, and it's a very different role as the number 9 with someone who's a prolific goal scorer. He's got physical attributes as well. I actually think Jonathan David could actually fit the bill here now.
100%, and I think he could also potentially do a job out wide as well. He's done that before for Lille, but I do think obviously he's predominantly a goal-scoring striker. That's what he's developed in the last couple of years, and I do think he'd be a really good player for us, and I do think he's maybe a bit more of a clinical finisher than someone like Richarlison. I actually think with his pace and his aggression, he could actually be a really good fit for that striker on Ange Postecoglou and provide really good competition for Richarlison. But at 60 million, he is very expensive. And he comes in with quite I wonder if he does come in at 60 million, instantly becomes our number 1 striker. I think that would be interesting to see if that happens. But I do... But
we did sign Richarlison for 60 million
exactly,
as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. So, I mean, I think Orban makes a bit more sense because he comes in with a bit less pressure and he comes in as maybe a 21-year-old who isn't going to demand a starting spot straight away from Richarlison. It might allow Richarlison still to have a bit of run in the team. Whereas if David comes in, all of a sudden there's that instant battle. Who's going to be number 1? A lot of pressure on both strikers, and it's a massive outlay as well on him. So look, I would love to sign him. I think it'd be a really good signing. Even if we do spend 60 million, yeah, why not? It's not my money. I don't really care that much as long as we sign him. But I do think Gift Orban makes a bit more sense.
Yeah, look, it's an interesting one because obviously Gift Orban comes with his risks of obviously not playing in a top league, not playing much competitive football as well in Europe, and but Jonathan David, he's done it and scored goals consistently in the French league. Obviously, the French league is nowhere near what the Premier League is, but it's much better than what the Belgian league is. And I think Jonathan David probably comes with less risk, but
double the price.
It is, first of all, it's double the price, and second of all, like if the scouting and the data suggests that we should go and sign Gift Orban, then go and get it done, because like we're supposed to be trusting in this data. We're supposed to be trusting in the scouting network. So if he has the better data and you believe that he is going to be a top striker, then yeah, it does make more sense. But I guess it just depends on how the scouts see it, I guess.
I 100% agree. But if we end up on Jonathan David, I'm not going to complain. As long as we get someone, one of them, just pick one and go for it. Don't let it go to the end of the window and then say, oh, we missed out because we left it too late.
You know what's going to happen is we're going to be like, all right, we choose Jonathan David, and then we're going to be haggling to the last minute, probably agree a fee on like the latter stages on the deadline day, and like the fax machine breaks or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know what I mean? Something classic Levy. Let's move on and let's talk about some potential outgoings now, starting off with Japhet Tanganga. Paul O'Keefe says that Everton did inquire for Japhet Tanganga 2 weeks ago, but have not followed up on it yet. And an Inter Milan publication say that Everton have made a move to sign Japhet Tanganga. They are competing with Luton to sign the Tottenham defender, who made a loan with an option to buy bid. But it looks as though Inter will be out the race, because it looks as though Benjamin Pavard is actually going there.
That'll be a great signing for them. Yeah, I think Tanganga, if I was picking between Luton and Everton, I'd probably go to Everton, just because, yes, you might be more guaranteed playing time at Luton, but I would back him to get into that Everton team. I think there are spaces for him there, and obviously working under Sean Dyche, I'll be a good manager for him to really develop his defensive game. But it seems as though Luton's the most realistic option for him now. But I still think even getting a Premier League move will do him the world of good. I don't see the point in waiting for Inter Milan. That's just a pipe dream, in my opinion. So I think a move in the Premier League is more likely.
Yeah, look, I think either would be good move for him. Consistent football in the Premier League, which he's never had in his career. He needs to step up his development now. He's not even that young anymore, to be honest, Jeff. What is he, 24 years old, something like that? And he's been treated like a proper youth player all the way up until now, and he's 24 years of age now. It's just he needs to move on from Tottenham to really develop and move on his career. And I think either Everton or Luton would represent that. So we'll see what happens with that. Davinson Sanchez, Foot Mercato says that Rennes considered Davinson Sanchez as a serious option to replace the outgoing Arthur Theatre. A fee between 10 to 12 million euros would be needed to sign the Tottenham centre-back.
And I think that'll be a good fee for Tottenham. I think that'll be good for Sanchez. I think Rennes will be a really good move for him, actually. Rennes are quite a good team. And I think they would actually really suit the way he plays with a bit of a high line, a bit more aggressive. Actually, the Rennes would suit him quite well. So let's hope that there's a deal to be done here. And hopefully that can help the transfer dominoes fall in our favour.
Yeah, let's hope so. Let's talk about Tanguy Ndombele now, as RMC Sport are claiming that Nottingham Forest have been in talks with Tottenham midfielder Ndombele, but the player is not convinced by the project and he is set to turn them down. Wow. So another week, another club being turned down by Tanguy Ndombele. I mean, he's just sticking around like a bit of a bad smell at the moment, to be honest. And like, do you think like these talks with Nottingham Forest have anything to do with Brennan Johnson?
Potentially. I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest, if that's like part of the move we're making. And we know that, well, at least we value Ndombele at least 10 million, so we could shave that money off the price. I don't see him fitting in that well in how Forest like to play, to be honest, in their kind of counter-attacking style. I can understand if he feels that that's not a bad fit. In fact, in that same article, it says it's not ruled out that Ndombele stays in London. And it's very frustrating that we can't get him out the door, considering his own behaviour. If he'd been really knuckling down in training, I'd be more willing to give him another chance. But hearing Postecoglou saying, his timekeeping isn't good and his attitude hasn't been what he expects, that's really disappointing to hear, because it would have been another. I don't understand why he's throwing away another opportunity to try and prove himself, because like Tottenham right now is probably the best place he could be. And in terms of how we play as well, I don't think he could be in another team that could suit the way he plays more than we do right now in the way we're trying to play our football. So like, he's really got an opportunity and he's chucking it away yet again, and that's really, really disappointing, and it's frustrating, and it's probably the last time that will happen. I think we've lost our patience with him. So let's hope a deal can be done with someone. I don't think it's going to be Forest, but I think he's waiting for a bigger club, but no bigger clubs are coming at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, he went to Napoli on loan last season, couldn't hold down a space in the team there, in a really good Napoli side that won the league. They didn't really want to take another chance on him. He went back to Lyon, where he made his name. They didn't want to take another chance on him. Tottenham don't really want to take another chance on him. So, I mean, the clubs are running out for him, to be honest.
I think it's more the finances of everything is holding it all up. He's on big wages. Tottenham paid a big fee, so they want at least a bit of that fee back as well. Obviously, that fee is getting smaller and smaller every day, probably. But I think that's probably what's holding all this deal up. He doesn't probably want to give up any of his wages. We probably don't want to keep paying them. We want to load them all off, and no one wants to come in and pay full whack.
Yeah, it's a shame about these players that have just supreme amount of talent, and you just can't to get them to knuckle down and show the right attitude. I liken it a bit like to Arsenal as well, Nicola Pepe, because he's also got had the world at his feet with unbelievable attributes, and he could have been one of the best wingers as well, to be honest, in the Premier League. I remember Jose Mourinho talking about him, saying how much he values him and what a player he could be, and I put them both in the same category, because like they both just literally had the world at their feet, and they just can't realise it at top level football.
Yeah.
Next up, and last but not least, let's talk about Giovanni Lo Celso. This is an interesting one. Estadio Deportivo saying that Lo Celso is not at all happy with Ange Postecoglou. The manager promised him that he would count on him this season, but has not given him any minutes in Tottenham's opening 2 games. He could look to leave in the final days of the window. And I'm like, wait a second here. It's only been 2 games. Like, do you not calm down a bit?
And it sounds like he's going to get his opportunity this weekend with this Maddison news that he's picked up an injury, so unlikely to play this weekend. But
if he's pulling a strop, though, will he get his chance?
I mean, look, I'm just hoping it's fabricated, this news. It's very odd for a player to have that kind of reaction after only 2 games. I did say, though, I did think it was fairly odd that he's been on the bench the past 2 games and hasn't had any minutes, especially like the Brentford game. I definitely think he could have had his uses. And, you know, when Maddison's running out of energy, maybe bring him on and give him a bit of a run out at the end of the United game as well. So considering how he played in pre-season, I do find it a bit strange that he hasn't come on at all. But like, it's only been 2 games. He shouldn't really be kicking up a fuss yet and like be looking to leave just because of that. So I'm hoping, if that's true, that does definitely shows a bit of attitude problems on his side. If that's an accurate report, I'm just hoping it's exaggerated.
Yeah, let's hope so. But if it isn't exaggerated, then surely we just have to get him out before the end of the window.
Well, I've always said I think we're still open to selling him. I think a good fee comes in. I think we're happy to sell. I just think we see him more as an option to stay if he is beyond the window. If no offer comes in, I think we're happy to keep him. But I still think if a good offer comes in, especially considering we're struggling to let go of other players as well right now, I reckon we're still open to it. But I reckon that price has gone up since before pre-season.
That transfer window, 1920 now. I mean, look, we already know now it's a bad transfer window, but even now, like as the weeks progress, it just looks like worse and worse how bad that transfer window is. Tanguy Ndombele, Giovanni Lo Celso, and Ryan Sessegnon, like 3 of the worst transfers this club has made.
Only one transfer starting to look good from that window.
Who was it?
Jack Clark. He actually is.
And we sold him.
He's doing quite well. He's wanted by Premier League teams all of a sudden, and we let him go for cheap.
Yeah, the fans chased him out of the club as well. But look, it is what it is. That is your Tottenham update today. If any other news breaks throughout the day, we'll bring it to you first here on We Are Tottenham TV. But thank you everyone for joining us. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.